crafty friends, Shana from ShanoukiArt. I have been wanting to create a glue book in forever, and I have finally started one. In this video, I'm going to share with you the process of creating this first page. You will see how I decided on my glue book style and what inspired the theme that I'm going to use through this entire glue book. You can use any kind of book for a glue book. I have this 8" by 8" spiral bound book. It is labeled a scrapbook, but I'm going to use it as my first glue book. I love it because the paper is a little bit more sturdy. It's probably about 120 GSM, and I love the size. It's not too big and it's not too small. I'm going to be only working on the right hand side. That's where I will be doing all the gluing, and then on the left hand side I'm going to be doing some writing. Over the last few weeks, I have gathered quite a few items for my glue book with the idea that my first page was going to be purples and turquoise. I have included washi tapes, some certain fabrics, offcuts, papers, anything in the color theme. There are definitely no rules here. As I've not really done a glue book before, I didn't really know what items I was going to use. So I have gathered, of course, more than I will need. I'm still not sure on the style of glue book that I'm going to create. That is going to develop as I start my page. I always believe in having more than what you need, so it gives you options and variety. Glue books are such a fun and creative way to express yourself through collage and mixed media. As always with paper craft, there's no wrong and there's no right, and there's definitely no mistakes. Glue books, in simple terms, are just cutting and pasting, something that I find extremely relaxing and therapeutic. And also a great way to use up scraps and little bits and bobs that you can't use in any other project. If you're like me, you may save everything. This is the place to use it up. A glue book can foster a sense of play and exploration, and each page can tell a story or convey a mood or capture a moment in time. And it can become a beautiful, meditative practice. And this page is what started it all. I found this in a food magazine and absolutely loved these colors. This page inspired the entire spread. I also love that for glue booking, you don't need much. You need some form of book to be able to stick your goodies into. It can be an old journal, an old book, a magazine journal, anything you have. You need some scraps and bits to stick, and then a glue stick. I'm going to keep mine simple, and I'm going to use just a glue stick to adhere my stuff down. I'm not quite sure if it's all going to hold in the long run. We can always revisit and check back, but for now, I'm simply using a glue stick. I don't have any idea yet as to how I want to do this, so I'm just going to start. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube showing glue booking and different ways to do it. You need to find a style that you enjoy. Normally, I do love torn edges and I like things spilling off the page. So normally when I glue things down, I let them hang off a little bit. I'm not quite sure if that's what I want for my glue book. So I'm going to see as I go, and I'm going to let the page and the pieces guide me. These two pieces that I've started with are from a Stamperia scrapbook pad. They have like a cursive handwriting on, which I absolutely love. This stunning piece of color is actually a sunset photograph that is part of an old calendar. So you can see now that I've started, I have torn with a ruler some of the edges. I've cut some of the others. Nothing is actually straight. It's quite hodgepodge, which is normally what I do for mixed media backgrounds. It's basically muscle memory that's making me do this. This beautiful flower that I've torn is from a Daphne's Diary. And for some texture, I'm going to use a piece of the spiral end. There's some purple coloring in there too. Normally when I do a collage background like this, I always add my gesso to blend off the edges and to move everything into the background. And I also normally add quite a bit of paint splatter. For this glue book though, surprise, surprise, I'm going to stay away from the gesso and the paint splatter. Probably a first for me. I really just want it to be the process of gluing things down, and I don't want to add anything more to the pieces. They are going to speak for themselves. Adding my most favorite piece, that piece of cabbage or whatever it is in the purples and turquoises. Love the contrasting colors with that beautiful turquoise background. And I remember it's about at this point that I realized I want straight edges and symmetrical sides. I don't want the torn look and I don't want uneven shapes. I felt for this, I wanted it to be more uniform. I can't tell you why I felt that. It's just how I felt at that point when I was cutting and placing these down. I also had started perhaps thinking I could have some pieces hanging off the edges. I then also decided I don't want that. I want it a bit neater. So I do go and trim off any excess that is hanging off the page. It's just what was working for me at the time. Don't be afraid to lift pieces and stick underneath. This one did tear slightly when I tried to lift it, but it's not the end of the world. It actually worked out just fine. I want to put this light turquoise strip just across the bottom, and I didn't want it to cover that flower, so I've just popped it underneath. The piece is obviously bigger than what I need, so I will just trim that off. I'm also using some failed bits from some experimenting that I did with my watercolor powders. A glue book is a place for everything. So even at this point, I'm loving the symmetrical lines, the perfectly straight edges, and the way all the little pieces are fitting together. It's quite different to my normal style and how I usually create, but that's why I love it. It's letting me express myself in a totally different way. Hydrangeas are my favorite flower at the moment, so I'm definitely going to be using those. That's from a Stamperia pad, and the colors are perfect. Here, I'm not exactly measuring anything. I'm just trying to make straight lines so that I can have symmetrical shapes. The size, I'm basically just eyeballing. That part hasn't changed. With the glue stick, you do have only a few seconds if you decide that you want to move a piece somewhere else. So if you want to give yourself a little bit more time in case you change your mind about pieces, maybe then rather use a wet craft glue with a slower drying time. I'm now going to use a little bit of my washi tape. This is available from the washi tape shop and I have a link in the description box below. I'm using a piece that has a face of a girl and there is some gold foil on it. I think it adds a beautiful touch. Going for a darker turquoise now to add a little bit of depth. This bright and fun piece is from a Art by Marlene die cut book. There are a few pages of full color on the back, and this is just a small section of it. I thought about fussy cutting around the hydrangeas, but then decided just to cut a square shape that'll fit in that top section. I found myself working from the page edge to the center. I know a lot of people start in the center and work their way out. It's a personal preference and you'll find your own flow. This is a small piece from a larger masterboard that I created, and it's actually from the little artworks I created for my Art Journal August kits. Some more washi tape with a beautiful turquoise, and of course the touches of gold foil. And another small piece for the top left. The darker piece creates some contrast in that top left corner. Going to pull out now the smaller pieces, the die cuts, to try and fill some of those gaps. And excuse me while I fussy cut this perfect lilac boot. I fell so in love with the shoe that I decided at this point that I'm going to add a shoe on every page in my glue book. So the theme for my glue book will be shoes. Putting on the final elements, trying to create balance, and I want to see where exactly I'm going to place this beautiful lilac boot. I don't want it to get lost amongst all the other pieces. It stands out beautifully with that turquoise background. It's going to go in the top left-hand corner. Although my glue book is going to be pretty flat, where I'm just pasting items down, I am going to paste things over things to create some layers, contrast, and interest. I don't think it's ever been more true than in this process, where it's all about the journey and not the destination. Yes, of course, we want our final layout to look amazing, but the process of getting there, of totally losing ourselves in paper and color, is what it's all about. I find it so calming. It's unstructured and unplanned, and I feel it's perfect for people who don't feel very confident in traditional drawing and painting, and a great starter for those who are just entering into papercraft. There's something so soothing and grounding about cutting, arranging, and gluing. I've also read that it's a form of art therapy to express emotions, relieve stress, or even process trauma. This is a butterfly sticker. I don't like the clear edge all the way around. It creates a shiny border that I don't like. I'm going to fussy cut that off. And then I'm going to stick my turquoise butterfly over my purple hydrangeas for contrast. A few color matching rub-on stickers. These are available from Taperlogy. The link will be in the description box below. I've selected a stamp image for the top right hand corner. I'm just going to peel off the backing, place my rub-on on the location where I want it, and then use my little pedal pop stick to rub over it and then lift off the sheet. And a purple flower for the bottom left. I had the same flowers twice, so I'm going to add the same ones at the top. Now usually when I create art journal pages, I work across both pages, left and right. For this glue book, I decided I want to just work on the right hand side, and on the left I want to write something every time I create a page. Whether it's a quote, lyrics from a song, some words of wisdom, a poem, anything. I enjoy writing, and that's a great place to practice. I've used my hole punch to punch some circles from some turquoise glitter paper. I think it's really pretty, and I'm going to stick a few just here and there. For this page, I think I'm just going to write perhaps a little bit about this glue book. Since it's the starting page, I'm going to first write it in pencil on a rough scrap of paper so I can get the spacing and the words that I'm going to use and make sure I have the correct spelling. And then I'm going to use color matching Posca pens to write it on the left. I'm not going to draw any lines, but I am going to use a ruler just to try and keep my words in line. Let's just see how this goes. As a side note, the bright pink Posca pen that I used here for the word shoe, after I finished this, I didn't really like the bright pink. I didn't feel that it really suited the page on the right, so I later did go over it in gold. I will show you that in the final run through at the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed this video and were inspired to create your own glue book. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching, happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!